So it is now the appointed hour, and I have to start with an apology because my screen will be blank. For some reason, my video doesn't pick up. So you'll have to have my disembodied voice. But we have at least 20 people with us. So let me say, first of all, welcome. And can you, if you haven't done so already, please turn off your phone. And perhaps if you're sitting beside your landline, lift the receiver. So we're going to commence by welcoming all here. We aspire to be a caring spiritual community, and therefore we will start by recognising and including everyone in our circle, as well as those who cannot be with us today. So please take a moment to be aware of all who are present. Look at your screen and see the faces of those with whom you will share this time of worship through meditation. If you have a candle available, I'd invite you to light it now. I will be lighting a Findhorn candle beside me here. And I should say that the initiative for this loving kindness meditation is one that came through the Findhorn Unitarian Networks Committee, we being an affiliate of the General Assembly, who normally hold our annual meetings as part of the General Assembly annual meetings. My words for lighting our candle or chalice come from the International Council of Unitarian Universalists in February. We light this flame that represents the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the energy of action. Now, there are at least 20 of us present, so I'm going to ask Rory to divide us into groups of 5, 6 or thereabouts, so that we can just greet the group that we're with. We can't do it for all of us, there's too many, so just greet each group by saying your name, sharing if you've meditated before, and offering a blessing to each other, and then we will continue. So right now, Rory, we'll hand to you to divide us into subgroups for an attuning welcome. Welcome back, everybody. Let us just offer a short prayer as we begin. Let us all pray that our time together today will renew and strengthen our spirit. And I'll begin with a reading from a book by Daniel Goleman, A Force for Good. It's a reading on kindness. The Dalai Lama is not just asking us to be kind because he says so. Instead, he makes the case for a deeper awareness of how our emotional world affects the people around us and leads to a more compassionate outlook. You acquire a conviction that kindness to others is what I need for myself, for my well-being. As the Dalai Lama says, the moment I think of others, my mind widens. The moment I think of others, my mind widens. Now, I know that many of you have experienced some form of meditation before, but let me just reassure everyone that it is you in control of your mind in this session. It is you who manage how you respond and how you react to a loving kindness meditation. And the meditation is based on what we call a mantra, a set of words. And Thomas Byram, in an introduction to the words of the Buddha, or the Dhammapada as it's called, said the following about a mantra. These words are words of wisdom, not knowledge, and must be heard by your inner spirit of life, not your intellect. That which feeds only the intellect entraps, while that which feeds the spirit liberates. So in a loving kindness meditation, we start by blessing ourselves, and we repeat in our mind 3 phrases. And we do this first for ourselves, to acknowledge ourselves, our failings and limitations, but to restore ourselves and our sense of goodness, so that we can then continue with a commitment to others. And the words of the phrases are as follows, in the form that I am going to use this. I will be well. I will be happy. I will be free of suffering. And my suggestion is that you use your breath to manage your mantra. So on the first in-breath, you think and say in your mind, I will be well. Rest for the out-breath, and then say with the next in-breath, I will be happy. Rest again. And then I will be free on the in-breath, and breathe out of suffering. So you breathe in, I will be free, breathe out of suffering. If you're not familiar with this mantra, please take a moment to put it down on paper in front of you so that you can look at it if you lose it and return to it. I will be well, I will be happy, I will be free of suffering. So let me just comment about I will be well. It's not a wish or a prayer, it's a commitment. You are committing yourself to accepting your body as it is, but determined to do all you can to look after your physical being as best you can. There are things we can do about our life, about our exercise, our sleep patterns, and in this time of pandemic, it's a time to consciously adopt the practices of hand washing, social distancing, and generally being caring of ourselves. So this is a mindful approach about managing our physical condition. Let us therefore prepare for our first period of meditation. Please first roll your shoulders, stretch your legs, tense up your toes and relax them. The same with your hands and your arms. And find a comfortable but alert posture, preferably with your backside right into the back of your chair. And most importantly, please have your feet firmly flat on the ground. That's very important, because if you tense up and lift your heels or your toes, your body will be tense. We need to be alert but relaxed. And now that you've found a comfortable posture, I'm going to ask you to sit still and take 4 full breaths, in and out. And I hope that you have felt a little bit of calmness come to embrace you as you've taken those breaths, and that you can maintain a focus on your breath throughout. So first of all, I want you to think of a time when you were particularly happy, glad to be alive, warm and positive. And see yourself in your mind's eye in a comfortable, calm, happy state. And now repeat slowly to yourself, I will be well, I will be happy, I will be free from suffering. Use your breath to pace your thoughtful repetition of these words. And we'll continue in silence in 4 minutes from when you hear the gong Breathing the words, I will be well, I will be happy, I will be free of suffering. So before we begin the next step, please be aware of your posture. Make sure your feet are firmly on the ground and that you are alert and relaxed. Because now in the second stage, we will bless another, someone that we care about. We cannot change another person, but we can support them in the change they choose to make. So we may say, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be free of suffering. But remember, this is a mindful commitment by you to support your friend, to support them in their present circumstances, rather than reflecting on what might have been or wasn't, or what you would like to happen but may not happen. Just remember the words in the reading attributed to the Dalai Lama about how our emotional world affects the people around us. And you can help by being considerate and by not taking your friend for granted. Taking a moment to attune to your friend's state of mind when you greet them. And committing yourself to being more caring of this special person rather than perhaps taking them for granted. So let's now prepare and commence our second period of meditation, a commitment to a friend, someone we care about, with the words on the in-breath, may you be well. On the next in-breath, may you be happy. And on the third in-breath, may you be free from suffering. And again, we will do this for 4 minutes, starting from the gong, which will sound now. So now we turn to the third stage, and we will commence by refocusing on our posture, making sure your feet are firmly on the ground and that you're attentive. Refocusing on your breath, the breath in and out. Because now we're going to bless someone we hardly know. It may be someone who delivered something to you. It may be someone who passed you on the other side of the street and gave you the distance that we need to continue to provide. It's a random act of blessing, and we do it the same way with the words, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering. If you can, choose someone to bless that you do not know well. But if need be, someone with whom you're acquainted, but not particularly close to. And we'll start with 4 minutes of blessing, a random act of blessing, starting with the gong. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free of suffering. Focusing with your breath, starting now. Before we begin the next stage of our loving kindness meditation, I'm going to comment on the final phrase, may you be free of suffering. Like the others, this is not a wish, it's a commitment. And the Buddha taught that we are subject to desires and cravings, but even when we are able to satisfy these desires, the satisfaction is only temporary. He identified sources of desire, namely greed, ignorance or delusion, and hatred. And to be free of suffering, we must mindfully set aside greed and hatred and strive to overcome our ignorance. Each of us needs to release the causes of our suffering, and we can play a part for ourselves, for our friends, and also for those with whom we are in conflict. So offering the blessing can be a mindful way of releasing our own suffering by addressing the greed or ignorance of ourselves as well as others. And it can help us overcome anger or hatred, such as you may feel towards someone else, and thus give your spirit the peace it needs for you to be free of suffering. Now, before we begin this stage, do again address your posture. Make sure your feet are firmly on the floor and that you're alert. Now, the Buddha always challenged those who would come to listen to him, and this loving kindness meditation now reaches a point of challenge. Because I'm asking you to think of a person who you consider to be difficult, someone towards whom you feel some anger or resentment or hurt. It may be someone from a long time ago or someone just this day. But I invite you to try to hold that person in your mind for a moment and recognize that despite how you feel, they probably see themselves as a good person. Let's remind ourselves that we Unitarians believe in original goodness, not original sin. So I'm inviting you to consider their essential goodness, no matter what may have concerned you. Hold an image of them as a good person in your mind and bless them for 4 minutes with the words, "May you be well, may you be happy, may you be free of suffering," and recognize as you do that you're releasing your own anger, your own frustration, as you bless them and show the generosity of spirit that's within you. So return to your breath, return to the mantra, "May you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering," starting now for 4 minutes. So we return now for our final stage of our loving kindness meditation. But before we do, once more, just remind you again to adjust your posture, make sure your feet are firmly on the ground and that you're alert. Because in this final stage of our loving kindness, we're going to bless all who are attending our meditation. So when I sound the gong, or before I do, just take a moment, if you can, to see the other faces, the people that are present with us, or at least their names if their faces aren't present, and acknowledge people that we know and others who we are happy to share this time with. And the final phrase will be, may we be well, may we be happy, and may we be free from suffering. So let's now join together for 4 minutes to share in this joint blessing of all who have shared our loving kindness meditation. Concentrating on your breath and repeating the phrase, may we be well, may we be happy, may we be free from suffering. So now, while your microphones remain mute, I'm going to sing Song 100 from the Purple Hymn Book. And because your hymns, your mics are mute, you can sing along without distortion. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at peace. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. So finally, please, if you can, open your hands with the palms facing upward in front of you. And just raise your hands as a blessing to share the goodness and the karma we have shared here today with all in our world who desperately need loving kindness to sustain them now and in the future. Blessings be to all, and thank you. And we do have a few minutes, so Rory, if you would like to bring us all back together. I've had a request that I put the quotes I put into the chat, and I can do that. So isn't it wonderful that we can share in this space at this time? Is there anyone who'd like to offer a comment?
I wondered about the reading that you did from, you said it was Daniel Coleman's, Ralph. I wondered if you could mention the name of the book again.
Of course.
Thank you.
It's Daniel Goleman, G-O-L-E-M-A-N.
Yeah.
And I'll put this up in the chat.
Okay.
And it's A Force for Good. It was published in 2015.
Thank you.
I'm happy to put it up in the chat, and I'm also happy to pass it on as well by email.
That's lovely. Thanks. I've made a note of it in my little notes next to my seat. That's lovely. Thank you. It was a lovely morning, Ralph. Thank you very much.
Lovely to see you.
Susie?
Susie?
We see you.
Yes. I've done this meditation with the Melbourne Unitarian Universalist Fellowship last Sunday, and it worked then. I don't know what's gone wrong. Apologies for that. Christina, are you wanting to say something, or just lovely to see you anyway?
I wasn't particularly. I actually found that very difficult, and I had to leave for a little while because, as Kate Brady McKenna said last night, you know, watching somebody cry is not nice. So, but I did manage to come back for the end, which I'm very happy that I did manage to do that. So thank you, and I'm sorry that I wasn't there for the whole time.
Hey, I'm glad you came back, and it's lovely to see you.
Ralph, I can only see 9 people at the time on my panel.
Yeah.
I'd love to know who else is here.
Right, well, we had 24 participants.
Right.
And some whom I've met, others whom I have not met. I don't know, Rory, can you help us with that?
I need to unmute myself before I start talking. I just sent a message to you, Val, in the chat.
Yeah.
So if you press the button top right of your screen saying speaker view, it should change it. Or if you press the little arrow to the right, then it should show you the next lot. It depends what kind of device you're on. If it's a phone or an iPad or a laptop, it's different. So.
Right, okay, it's an iPad, so...
that's probably why you've only got 9 then.
Okay, well, my 9 are beautiful anyway. So I'm happy.
So I've had a question. I've had a question about the Finton Unitarian Network and our online presence. And of course, a number of our activities have been restricted at present, but we are planning meditations online following a Finton approach. And so if you want to, Val, who just spoke, is in fact the secretary of the Finton Unitarian Network. And I'm one of the people who was involved in getting it started. And you can be in touch with us if you would like to be involved in the Finton Unitarian Network, which, as I said, is part of the GAs of Creative Society. And the other thing I'd say is that we are striving to raise funds so that if people are on low wage or limited income, we can help support you to go on a Finton Experience Week or one of our other activities. So do get in touch if you would like to and don't feel you can afford to. Okay, are there any other people who would like to ask a question or make a comment? I've noticed Tom has mentioned that Daniel Goleman has another book about emotional intelligence. He's a very interesting writer, Tom, isn't he? Tom, if you're commenting, you'll have
yes.
to...
Yes, he is. Yeah, I only found out recently, but he was, he's been very influenced by Eastern thinking and spirituality, as well as, writing quite popular psychology books.
Yes, it comes together, I think.
Ralph, may I ask you, do you incorporate meditation into your Sunday services? And if so, how long are the meditation sessions, say within a 1 hour service?
Catherine, that's a very important question. At Hull, we eventually decided that we would have services that were more or less traditional, and also a separate meditation session each week.
Oh, because you don't do it as part of the worship?
Well, we do have a moment of silence and reflection. You know, when I was there, I've retired now, but when I was there, we would have maybe 4 or 5 minutes of silent reflection, but it would be after an address, and usually after some sort of reflective prayer that we would then sit in silence for each of us to form our own ideas. But the meditation group were people who found their way of worship was better served by meditation than a more traditional type of church service. So we split the two and did both. And as you saw with my leading that meditation, it is an act of worship. There's a reading, there's a prayer, there's a song from one of our books. It sort of merges from either end. You see what I mean?
I wonder if other people can comment. How long do you think the average attender on a Sunday morning can sit in silence? In our chapel in Oxford, I have people who can't bear to do it for more than about 30 seconds. And we have people who always want more. What's the ideal length?
That's a very good question. And I would hold, on a Sunday service, I would, as I do on a meditation, if I'm leading, I hold the group, because it doesn't matter which way you go, there's someone who that particular day is struggling. On a particular day with a meditation, one person will be unable to really link in, another person may become quite emotional because it touches a chord, and others will just simply lock into the meditation and just be there. So it varies from week to week. But as a leader, I would sit there and hold people and connect with them. I've even quietly stood up and walked and sat beside someone who was really struggling.
Really?
And just my presence helped them.
Gosh, that's nice.
One of the things that we found, Catherine, in the York group is that after our moment of silence, we sometimes then have some music, because those who want to still stay in a contemplative state can do so while the music's on, but those who find it difficult will then just listen to the music.
I think that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Can I just say thank you very much, because I've been doing this using some instructions that a friend sent me, and I hadn't been integrating it with the breath, and it's made such a difference and it's so much more grounding. So thank you very much for this session. It's helped me immensely.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. May I say, though, that each of us has our own way of doing these types of meditation, and loving kindness is one that I've seen done in many different ways. So I think it is a matter of finding a way that works for you. And if that works for you, it does for me. So that's lovely to share that with you.
I also found, Ralph, that it was one of the best times when I've ever done this meditation. So thank you very much. You've thrown a whole new light on it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's lovely to see you too.
Ralph, can I ask, because I'm not that well up on the Buddhist thinking, but it's just the words, I will be free of suffering. I thought that this sort of Buddhist philosophy embraced suffering, and that in a way we need suffering. No, we need to be able to cope with suffering.
Indeed. The Buddha's realization was that is the nature of the human condition, that we are suffering. And he said that the causes of that, he said the cause, hello? And he said the causes of suffering, which is the natural human condition, as I mentioned in that earlier reading, that the causes of the suffering are our greed, our ignorance, and our capacity for selfish anger. And so the Buddha's Eightfold Path, which he outlined, is a way of overcoming our sense of suffering by releasing our ego and releasing our greed and our frustrations. So you're quite right. It is, the Buddha taught that it is the way of human beings to be people who are suffering, but he also said that the Eightfold Path that he outlined is the path to ending or overcoming, overcoming the human condition of suffering.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you just put the Eightfold Path into the internet, you'll get the steps.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, because you did mention the greed and hatred and whatnot. Yeah, so that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, it's a good question. So we're coming to the end of our hour. Rory, if I go in and put in these quotes into chat, will that be accessible to people?
The chat disappears once the call ends. So it might be, I'm trying to think what's the best way that you could share them with people. Maybe if you send them to me, I could put them on Facebook or on the website. Okay.
Yeah. And people can write to me. My email address is ralphunitarian@gmail.com. ralphunitarian, all lowercase, @gmail.com. And I'm happy to share this with you. I'm putting together a book of meditations, so maybe there'll be others that you might be interested in when they come together.
Oh, that's interesting. Have you got a publisher, Ralph?
Not yet. I haven't got it compiled yet. I'm only working on it.
I'm
I
on
thought
the Lindsay
retirement-
Press. I'm on the Lindsay Press panel, and I'm always on the lookout for new Unitarian publications.
Okay, well, Catherine, we'll
Give me
talk
your
about it.
email address again.
Yeah, Ralph Unitarian
Yeah,
at gmail.com.
thank you.
We've been meditating at Hull for about 4 years, and we started with me. And then on one day, 2 people came along, so they weren't overwhelmed by just sitting with the minister. And from then it grew to well over, it was 15 to 25, it varied. Richard, we had you there one time. That was lovely when you came up to join us.
Yes, that's lovely. Yeah.
And of course, if you are into meditation, you definitely need to know about Richard and the Meditation Fellowship.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, yeah. Perhaps I'll contact Rory and give Rory my email details. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so look forward to the rest of the virtual GA, and thank you all for the time you shared in this hour together. Blessings be to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
Thank you.